Welcome to Eat the Buckle, the horror movie battle royale podcast that will ultimately determine the worst horror movie ever made by pitting two movies in a weekly head-to-head matchup where the loser will remain in the ring another week and we will be forced to watch it repeatedly until it is dethroned by an even worse film. Today's matchup, 1981's Madman versus 1997's Event Horizon. Two pictures enter, one picture eats the buckle. With me today are my co-hosts Josh and Aaron. Gentlemen, how are you feeling about today's matchup?
I'm feeling pretty great knowing that whoever wins, we will be the true losers in this game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well said.
When you asked me to be a part of this, I should have really paid attention to more of what the assignment was than just watching movies.
Yeah, you
And
didn't read the fine print about how we would have to watch the same movie over and over, possibly.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I guess it stands to point out too that these are just from randomly picked from a list that we have generated. So it's not like these were the
Yep.
best or the worst. These were just some randos. So don't yell at us if one of these is your favorite movie. But
Yeah,
we will definitely
every
have
week.
we will have opinions. Some
Sure.
strong, some stronger than others.
Yeah, every week will be a randomly chosen film. So, you can't just come at us and say, why don't you just watch Death Toilet? That is, or whatever the worst, you know, Ed Wood or something like that, because we want it to be random so that it'll, we'll eventually get to everything. Maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll go crazy and someone will lose their minds and not be able to do this ever again 2 weeks from now.
If it happens to be Madman for 6 weeks, this may be a 6 episode podcast, and it will die on the vine.
Yes. Yeah. We'll,
Spoiler alert.
Not yeah,
We
not the spoiler.
yeah. Yeah, not to, put the cart before the horse, but I feel like this one might be like an actual wrestling match where the the outcome is predetermined and we just have to kind of, you know, make it interesting.
Yep.
Uh, but
Madman is definitely already waiting in the ring when you come back from commercial break.
Yeah.
yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Um, so just I guess start with a little bit of trivia for these each movie. Get to know the fighters in the ring. We'll start with, I guess, chronologically, Madman. As I said before, it came out in 1981. The actual release date was October 30th, which would you'd think be an advantageous release date for a horror picture. But just so happened that was the same day that a little movie called Halloween 2 was released.
Oh
Um,
man.
No, never heard of that.
would you like to take a guess between those two movies? Which one ate the buckle at the box office in a head-to-head match?
I'm gonna say it was Madman no contest, but I'd also like to know how many screens Madman actually showed on.
I don't have that. It was a wide release, I believe. I don't have those numbers, but I do know that Halloween 2 made 25.5 million, while Madman made 1.3 million, which honestly isn't too bad considering it had a $350,000 budget. So it did okay.
Was
It
that
held its own.
was that total or was that for the opening?
That was total.
Oh no.
But more than more
Oh
than doubled
yeah.
its money. So, that's what can you ask for? What
That's
more?
I mean,
profit, baby.
yeah,
Uh,
you tripled, you
yeah,
almost quadrupled. So why wasn't there a whole Mad Men, Mad
that's
Menor?
It,
that's a
listen, if this movie came out in today's Hollywood, it would already have like five sequels.
Oh yeah.
true. But I guess that I actually was thinking about this. Like, if John Carpenter, if his vision was realized, where Halloween was a one-off movie, right, and there was no sequels, there could be a world where if Madman came out on October 30th without Halloween 2 to go up against in the box office, we could be sitting here talking about Madman Mars as if he were Michael Myers.
That's impossible.
Yeah. there's
It
not
doesn't
enough
change.
gifted.
It doesn't change the
You,
quality of the movie.
well,
There
no,
are
I'm
not
not.
enough gifted camps randomly in Thanksgiving to host more than one of these movies.
I'm not saying it would be a blockbuster. I'm saying you'd have to think at least some of the patrons that went and saw Halloween 2 would have otherwise spent their money on a different horror. The only other horror movie released on October 30th, and the box office would demand Madman 2 or 3 or 4,
Okay, you've got a point.
right? We could be he could be up here with Madman Mars could be with your Jasons and your Freddys and whatnot.
Mm, no,
And what a world that would be. Yes.
no.
No.
I mean, I think Madman Mars. It's Mars, right?
It is
No
Mars.
S. Mar, like Bill Maher, Madman Bill Maher, or
Mars,
Mars the planet,
like the candy. Yeah.
or just Mar, like I've marred my shoe.
It depends on what stage of theater acting you've had in your lifetime. That depends on the pronunciation of the killer's name.
Um, okay, so to introduce our next combatant, 1997 August 15th was the release date for Event Horizon, and it went up. The big release for that week also went against a little picture called Copland.
Oh
We're,
man.
we're all big fans of on this podcast.
Just watched it this week, actually.
All and the third, I guess it was a third three-man matchup, but also in their big release was Shaquille O'Neal Steel.
Oh no. Summer blockbusters, baby.
uh,
Tell me, Steel is not considered a horror movie, so that it doesn't randomly come up.
no, it's an
Because
action film. I
I've
believe it's
made it, I've made it this far not seeing it. I don't need to see it now.
but in a head-to-head matchup between Cop and Horizon, who ate the buckle?
Copland.
Copland.
Copland, no sir. Copland made 63 million to Event Horizon's 26 million.
Oh geez. Okay.
Copland was a hit.
I thought it was a bust, but
Yeah, I didn't
huh.
think it was that well liked at first.
It made money. I guess the cast alone probably put butts in the seat.
That's true.
But
That's true.
maybe it was critically panned at the time, but
You
um,
throw all those actors together, you're going to get people in the theaters.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to
Event
get butts in the seats.
Event Horizon was critically panned,
Hmm. You don't
I had an
say.
all-star cast too.
rightfully. Eh. People were like, "Hey, it's the guy from Jurassic Park. We should
Hmm.
maybe he's in space this time." I don't know that Sam Neill was getting asses in seats.
Oh, that's true.
Maybe,
Fishburne was pretty big at that time, though, I think. He
Yeah.
was pretty recognizable.
maybe. I mean, I love them both, but um, and
You
we'll
guys actually saw this in the theater back
We
in
did.
August
yeah,
'97,
yeah,
right?
We
yes,
did.
yes. For the listeners out there, Josh and I are brothers, and our oldest brother took us to see it when we were way too young to see a movie like this in the theaters or at all. And it scared him so bad that he slept with a light on for weeks, I believe,
Yep.
after he saw it. Which I texted him the other day so I could laugh at him because this thing is ridiculous. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
gonna keep my cards close to my vest here. Okay, well, it's now that they've been introduced, I guess we should get into the matchup. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yep. Give us that sweet, sweet rundown.
Okay, so the elevator pitch for Madman is takes place at a what would normally be called a summer camp, I guess, but for some reason they're going into a Thanksgiving break. There, it's like the last day before Thanksgiving break, and there's it starts out with a story of a man named Madman Mars who kills his family one night, just chops him up with an axe, and then I think he burns to death in a fire. I can't remember. But anyway, his spirit haunts the woods, And legend has it if you say his name above a whisper, he will come out and murder you. And that's what happens. That's the story. A bunch of teenagers
Yeah,
murdered.
yeah.
That's the gist of it. It's just a pretty much a Friday the 13th ripoff, and we'll talk about some of the details. But that is the pitch for Madman Mars.
That's it in a nutshell, and that's pretty much it for about an hour and a half.
Where
Any stand out to you guys that you would like to talk for its pros or cons to any for it
oh
or
yeah.
in this matchup?
Oh,
Oh, do we have comments?
there's plenty to just throw it, books to the floor, pants, and wedgie this movie. But I mean, if we were a podcast about soundtracks or theme songs, Madman Mars would win, and we'd never have to talk about it again because it's a compared to the Prodigy song in Event Horizon. The beginning of Madman with the music and kind of like that almost like overhead projector special effects, and then the music or the vocals at the end of it just really get you pumped for the cinematic experience that you just had or were getting ready to have.
The song at the end is special.
And
It's
it's all sung by what was the guy's name? TP TP
yeah. That,
TP.
so I guess we'll start there. The characters' names in this thing are we've got Timmy, Tommy, Richie, TP, as in
Betsy.
Betsy, Stacy. So clearly this was filmed in Long Island. Uh, Billy, I believe there's a Billy.
There's a
Um,
yeah.
so, so
Dave.
really, really, scraping the bottom of the barrels for the names there. Uh, TP is kind of the heartthrob of the movie, I guess. I don't know. Him and Betsy are the main characters. They have a very interesting love story that culminates in an amazing love
Yeah.
scene.
The biggest thing to talk about this movie is not like the deaths. The deaths are and half the crew that were our counselors are just, wet paper towels. Like you just get so sick of looking at them and trying to act that like the biggest thing to talk about is that it's a gifted camp in the woods.
Yes,
There's I actually wrote this down. There were a ratio of 1.1 to 1 counselors to kids. Now correct me if I'm wrong. I have 6 counselors to kill and only 5 kids at gifted camp.
yeah, and knowing that ratio, they still managed to lose one of the kids. He
Oh
he,
yeah,
man,
right off the bat.
he manages to escape into I was it Madman Mars's house. I don't know if they ever made it clear. There's just like a creepy old house that he gets into, and
Oh yeah, yeah, because they do that. I mean, it's just like the fog, where you with the setup of telling a ghost story at the beginning of your horror movie. Like, there's no better setup. It's like you might as well just say it was a dark and stormy night at the top.
yeah,
It's a great setup. They were like you said, they have that thing where they're just like, oh yeah, if you say his name over a whisper, he'll awaken his spirit and come after you, which I guess is better than, hey, there's a kid who drowned in the lake and he's mystical and he comes back. I guess it's
well, my
fishy.
the biggest question I had was what actually constitutes speaking over a whisper?
I mean, yeah.
Like, are
Uh,
we would if we're talking at the volume we're at now and in the woods, these haunted woods, and one of us said that what's it, Madman Mars would at this volume would he come after us?
Again, I believe it's depends on the level of Shakespearean trained, acting you've done. Because if you can get away with saying, "Madman, then that's clearly constitutes as a whisper.
Yeah, there's no Beetlejuice or Candyman, so you can say it multiple times,
Yeah,
very below a whisper.
you can say it as much as
So
you
if you were doing it in sign language, you'd be fine. Absolutely, you
want.
could yell in
Yeah,
sign language, Madman Mars, no issues, because I
yeah,
don't think it would have been invented by the time that he had killed his family, and I think he was hung and burned to death. So yeah,
sure.
uh, so of course, yeah,
So the logic is
someone's
a little,
someone
uh,
screams his name.
yeah, instantly. Some little shit that looked the kid that gets lost. They end up losing him was Richie, I believe, and he looks like Oscar Isaac. Immediately jumps up and screams "Madman Mars," and then all
In a very thick New York accent.
Oh yeah,
"Madman Mars."
maybe
Why don't you come and
Mars.
find us?
And at
I
that
will
point,
walk through your window.
I would say all hell breaks loose at that point, but it's a slog.
I mean, there's that whole love scene that's not an '80s level love scene. Again, at the gifted camp hot tub room,
Yes.
where all counselors and children and Max, who we haven't talked about Max yet, the head counselor or head of the camp, who looks like he is probably 60, but if
Hmm.
we looked it up, I'm sure that dude was probably younger than us. Just
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, like there's that. You think like, all right, you said his name, it's gonna just go boom, 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 like a Friday the 13th. No, you get to go with that crappy song that again, it's TP, and you
Yes.
know it gets thrown into your head. His name is TP because he's got that giant belt buckle.
Yeah. Personalized belt buckle hanging right below his hanger.
Oh,
He's got a his belly button with a hanger.
that belly button was the scariest thing in the movie.
The
Yeah.
belly button that was trying to crawl away from the rest of his body.
That belly button was in 3D. None
I
of the
thought,
rest of the movie was.
wow, they're doing full frontal on Madman. Way to go. But nope, just can't get it out of
Just
my head.
just a just a close up of big hairy butt cheeks and crack.
And then they proceed to sit in the hot tub and slowly circle each other while facing each other at opposite sides of the hot tub, like a whirlpool game.
It's gifted sex. There's a reason for it that we just don't understand.
It seemed like half the runtime of the movie that was happening.
Well,
It
they
was.
did that full song like that.
It was
TP
it was
sings.
almost like they just wanted to make it the entire length of the Ween B side that was playing over top of the scene.
Yes. Um, yeah,
So
I mean, the music
real,
was,
yeah.
I did love it. I don't know. There's not a whole lot to say here about this. I don't know how many more details you guys have, but my notes are
I
pretty much.
mean, yeah, like it's a real. I don't know how I can because I watched it. It's a very forgettable movie that I don't understand why people are surprised. Like, oh, it's a missing like unearthed gem of a horror movie, and it's like, nah, not really. Like it didn't do anything different. The coolest thing is the soundtrack, and I say that unironically again about the theme song. The rest of it's garbage, but yeah, it's just like when you're bad guy or monster or supernatural spirit, whatever it is, looks like the grandpa from the Star Wars holiday
Oh yeah,
Christmas
I
special.
guess we could talk about what
Like
Madman looked like.
it, I don't know how like you're like, oh, this is such a hidden classic. Like no, it was a thing that could have very easily been on Mystery Science Theater. Um,
I
not going to be well. We're going to have to probably watch it again multiple times, but
Yeah, I'm trying to save some juice because something tells me we're gonna have to squeeze this one again at least once.
oh,
A lot of close-ups on his hand.
Yeah, they were really proud of whatever special effects they did for his sausage fingers.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
they didn't look good, but I guess maybe that was the best part of them because
His hands and his bloated feet
yeah. His puffy Mickey Mouse feet.
with like one sock. He had one fat sock and then a bare foot.
like a sock full of mashed potatoes with like all but again, maybe if it didn't have to go up against Halloween 2, they would have, been able to correct all their mistakes in the second.
No,
No, no.
no.
So so
My thoughts on this was there was probably a time and a place where you could watch this movie and get some enjoyment out of it. I could imagine with a group of friends and some alcohol and just the in the
I
mood to watch something campy to make fun of, you could have a little bit of fun with this, but watching it alone, sober, in the middle of the afternoon is not a time to introduce yourself to
no,
Madman Mars.
no.
And and all of its scars showed. It was just a slog.
Yeah.
You didn't get a single kill for the first 20 minutes of this boring movie. And when you do get the first kill, if I remember correctly, you don't even see anything. It's like one of those things where character turns around, there's a reaction shot, and then you just see like a hand grab them, a big bloated sausage finger hand, and like that's your first kill. And you have to wait another 16 minutes to actually get a decent, death to
Well,
appreciate.
I'm gonna stop you right there. We got to move on to the next movie, so I won't harp on it. But the first kills are actually in the beginning when they're telling the story of Madman Mars, and those were cool. I liked those first kills when I first saw them. I was like, okay, this is gonna be something.
I
And then
wholeheartedly
you're right.
disagree.
Then it was a while until the next one, but the first
yeah.
setup that was really
I think it does like the Silent Night thing where it shows you all the things that happen in the movie while they're telling that campfire
It
story.
does. It keeps flashing to the characters and like what's going to happen to
yeah.
them.
So it spoils the movie by itself because you do see them dying
Well,
Yeah.
and
that
running
was
in the
just
woods.
that was them saying, please don't walk out.
and then,
You at least have some stuff coming your way. Please stick around.
and
I
then
mean
they sorry, go ahead.
this is just a straight up makeout movie like they used to pump out in the 60s, like
Yeah.
all of like the random horror sci-fi stuff that it's just, and they did you a favor. They showed you all the kills and they said, all right, now start the heavy petting at the drive-in.
Well, there was some heavy petting, all right. A lot of hot tub swirling. But
Uh,
I don't know. There was just there's just nothing there. It's just a very very boring. Uh,
It's a wet fart.
it's a real wet one.
So,
uh,
Well, until you get to the very end of the film and you get to hear that sweet sweet theme song again.
yeah.
yeah.
I
Uh,
just can't talk about how much I appreciated that theme song during the credits after watching an hour and a half of bullshit.
Yeah.
I've got
See,
it queued up.
you can tell that we love that one.
Um, I we'll have to put a sting of that song here at the end. I have it queued up, but we'd have to share screens and all that shit. So let's not deal with that right now. But we do want everyone to experience it. So, all right, on to the next combatant, which I think this one's going to be close for me. Uh, Event Horizon.
Yeah, baby.
I'll let someone else go through this one because can't. I don't have this stomach acid to.
Josh, you actually saw it in the theater, so you get to do
Oh no, no, no. You had a
the
perfect
pitch.
pitch. You tell us the pitch.
All right. So, um, my pitch for Event Horizon is Sam Neill just decides, you know what? I'm going to invent the worst thing possible, which is a device that you can travel to hell, but you'll get there real quick. And then Lawrence Fishburne and a motley crew of misfits who seemingly have been there and done that before have to go to the gates of hell to see who gets out. That actually was too serious. I'm sorry.
No, I believe you described it before as it's basically the Shining on a spaceship, and I'd say that's pretty accurate, despite the fact it's nowhere near the movie that The Shining is.
Oh no, no.
This isn't even the Bruce Weber made for TV Shining equivalent.
This is Bruce Weber.
Bruce Weber, isn't that the dude from
It's not
Wings?
even Steven Weber quality.
That's who I meant. Steven Weber. Is there a Bruce Weber?
Steven Weber. No.
Wasn't even Sacramento Kings basketball. Chris Webber, The Shining.
Maybe he was in the orgy scene.
Chris Webber.
Yeah.
All
And
the
Bruce.
Webbers. It was just a Weber orgy scene. Which
There was the whole cast of Wings covered in blood and gore, having sex with each other.
Uh,
um,
Go ahead, Jared. You go ahead and tell us
I'll just
your
go through my
thoughts.
notes really quick. It starts off, you know, you're in trouble when it has a really horrible graphic underneath the opening credits that it's like a black hole, but it looks very pixelated, so it was hard. It looked like a Saturn graphic of a black hole from
No,
1995 or whatever.
no.
To and then we get the text that comes up telling us about, you know, really setting the scene for what century we're in for this epic space travel. And it says in the year 2000, I don't know the exact words, but it basically says in 2015.
Yeah, in our past, we are on Mars already.
In 2015, there has been the moon has been colonized in 2015. So that really sets the future that we're in, folks. Uh, that that's the end of my notes, really.
Yeah, the
I was
movie.
out of it. Again, I've seen this so many times. It hurt me to have to watch this.
The fact that the movie takes place in 2047,
Yeah,
and that would have been what, like 60 years from 1997? Is that the math working for me?
50.
Or 50?
Yeah,
Like, how did anyone think we were going to have the movie happen the way that it does? That in 30 years or less, you had figured out, oh, I don't know, anti gravity. You'd figured out an
uh,
ion drive. You'd figured
creating
out,
creating black holes to travel through space and time through.
yep. Now,
Yeah,
again, this isn't like Madman, where Madman is just, like I said, a wet fart. This had good looks. It had good special effects for the time.
Yep.
no,
Like
no, it
that
didn't.
that part where there's stuff floating around the event horizon that
No.
was like what everybody loved to do in the 90s. Like Star Trek 6 did it.
The zero
This movie
gravity
did.
congealed liquid.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
like
it
T2
was
in space.
they made it look like it almost like they planned on it being a 3D release because that stuff that's like floating through the whatever is like
Yeah.
coming to the screen and like there's like a blob of some liquid that hits the camera and breaks apart. It looked so bad. I don't. You saw it in 4K. I didn't. I mean, but I can't imagine it made that much of a difference.
It actually did look 3D in 4K. So big shout
Uh,
out to whoever
The
put
4K
that together.
restoration is really good. I will say that much. The special effects still look like they're 1997 special effects, but they look good enough to not laugh at,
I
with
would.
the exception of the end.
I
But I don't. So Event Horizon to me is leaps and bounds above Madman, because whereas Madman basically just took what was obviously the popular genre, which was the camp, the camp horror movie, camp slasher, and did it worse. Event Horizon was really going for something original, which was basically a haunted house in space. And to me, as I said, like the only good horror movie that's been done in space was probably Alien, and this is probably a close second. Because on the other end of that spectrum, you have Leprechaun in Space and Jason X, which are not good movies.
I would
And
take.
Critters 4, I think. But
I would
so
take.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no. Sorry. You finish your thought.
So I think when you look at it in that context, they really kind of went for something, and they came up with a fun cast of characters. There's some shifty personalities on board. Obviously, there's some turmoil and some things going on between them. I think the actors did a great job playing their parts. They took it seriously without taking it too seriously and keeping kind of a fun, campy edge to it. And I thought there were some good like scare moments in it, and it
You
all
can.
kind of just sorry,
I was gonna say, to your point, you can quote this movie way easier than you can Madman.
yeah, for sure,
Like,
for sure.
this place is a tomb.
Oh God. All
But
right.
Oh,
it did
oh, come on.
it
Stop.
did fall
Fishburne
apart
just
at the
chewing it
end.
up.
It did fall apart at the end when basically the whole scary story and big build up comes down to a Mortal Kombat fight scene between Lawrence Fishburne and a terribly rendered flaming Sam Neill who looks like a character out of a video game like Killer Instinct or something like that, and it all
Yeah.
just kind of falls apart at the end.
Let me counter this in defense of Madman and attack a little bit in Event Horizon. First of all, the acting is terrible in this movie. Sam Neill is
Ugh.
bad. I love Sam Neill normally. He's always good. Fishburne was terrible in this.
Oh,
Ugh.
come on.
Ugh.
Awful, awful script. I mean, I guess they were doing the best with what they had, but they weren't great, which to me is the sign of a terrible director. We didn't even get to end this guy's past movies, and we can't because that's another 40 minutes of. But, but can I just? I made fun of the characters' names in Madman. Let me just go through the roster of characters' names we have here. Names like, and the first 10 minutes of this movie is just Fishburne repeating everyone's names to them over and over. Like Smith, go find Cooper. Cooper, Stark's in the. So we got Smith, Cooper, Stark, Peters, Miller, Justin. The, come on, what are
Hey,
we
if you put the two movies together, you actually have first and last names.
doing?
So there's Betsy Miller
Yeah,
and Stacy Peters,
Richie
Dave
Cooper,
Stark, Bill Justin. I mean, we didn't
Stacy.
mean it to work that way, but they were all about brevity in these two movies.
TP Baby Bear.
Now,
God.
the one bad thing about this movie in 4K is the Burning Man's black thong.
Yeah, you do get
I
it.
you get you don't ever see that in DVD quality or
I
on the
didn't notice it.
screen, but he's got a very like I'm going to the tanning bed throwaway like pasty thong thing that you just go, well, at least Hell was being sensible and put the man in a black thong.
I definitely didn't notice that in regular K. Um,
You don't want to go into a fight scene with Lawrence Fishburne with your flaming dong swinging around.
Yeah.
uh, uh, it's like,
And to Josh's earlier point too about like how it just kind of falls into like that Mortal Kombat scene.
yeah, it's
Like
bad.
if you read into it, like they really butchered up and there's this whole mystery about like unedited or the unedited version where it was like the sex orgy thing was grosser and they recut that and lost that footage and then they also they tested it and it had like the ending didn't work so they refilmed another ending that didn't work so then
So there were two
it's
worse things than what we
it's
got.
no you got it because they combined them into what we did get
Yeah.
and oh yeah it's Paul Workshop Anderson was just like that's I workshopped it sorry this is what you're getting
Yeah.
and
Sure
he
do.
will admit he was like there's a great movie there but the way that it's edited it ain't it.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing is because in 1997 too, that was like the prime time of like, Miramax was basically ruling everything that people wanted to go see, and the timelines to make movies were crazy. Like I think they shot and edited this movie in 18 months,
Less than
which
that. Yeah.
which is like insane when you think about movies now that are taking like 2 years just to film. Um,
Mm-hmm.
But it was a different time, and unfortunately, I think that movie is a product of that. In that, yeah, it suffered from probably too much input and too many cuts, and I really wish that the footage that they had cut wasn't destroyed, so we could see what kind of horror movie this could have actually been.
Yeah, it would have. If ever there was a director's cut needed, it would have been for this one.
Yeah, I've got a lot to say about it, but it might lose, and we might have to talk about it again. We'll
Oh,
see.
I don't think so.
Speaking of which, I guess we should get to our final thoughts. Pick our
Excuse me.
winner or loser. What is it in this case? Is the loser the winner?
Uh,
The
the loser are the three of us for having to watch the winner of this scenario week to
Okay.
week.
All right. So my summation, my thoughts. Both were not enjoyable experiences. I enjoyed Mad Men more. Like the experience of watching it. I actually had more fun watching it. Not to say it was good at all. Event Horizon is definitely a better made film, not by much. So I guess the loser that we'll have to watch again for me is Mad Men.
Yeah, I'd say no doubt. While The Horizon is nowhere near the perfect movie, it's definitely the better movie between the two. There's really nothing that I could be said in Madman's defense to even make an argument as to why it would be the better between the two. So I
So,
think at the end of this one, Event Horizon clotheslines Madman, picks it up, and then smashes its face into the buckle repeatedly.
Yep. Madman definitely is eating the buckle, as are we, since we have to watch it again and we have
you.
to figure out what we're watching it against to hopefully upset it so that we don't have multiple weeks of Madman.
Uh, well, let's the random generated picture that we will watch next. Oh, also, congratulations, Event Horizon. You were not worse than Mad Men.
You are free.
So the next randomly generated movie we will watch is Cemetery Man.
Ooh, well,
Yeah.
So, which I believe is on Shutter streaming, and probably other areas, but that's the only
I I
one
got
I.
the Blu-ray, and after watching it again recently, um, it's
Oh,
gonna
you've
be
seen it
it's gonna be
recently.
it's gonna be a tough fight next
It's gonna
week.
Uh,
be it's gonna
Next
be a
time.
tough battle.
you can't rest on those laurels. You got to watch it again, no matter what. You
Oh yeah,
but so from 1994, Cemetery Man's up against Madman. This could be a close one. I remember enjoying Cemetery Man, but I haven't watched it in probably 20 years.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it'll be like and how it compares. I am not excited to watch Madman again,
I, it's
but
the whole process of this was like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch it multiple times. The one that quote unquote loses slash wins. I don't know if this goes multiple weeks of Madman. I don't know how much we can talk about it.
Uh, Alcohol consumption is going to be key in this one.
yeah.
Ooh.
All right.
If anybody listening wants to play along with us, you can find both Cemetery Man and Madman on Shudder or other streaming services, but I know Shudder's got them for no extra charge if you're already subscribed to that.
Perfect. All right, gentlemen. Well, until next week. I don't know how to sign this off yet. We'll figure it out. So long.
So
See ya.
long, folks.
Bye.
This place is a tomb.